Hello, everyone. Thank you for being patient with us as we switched from YouTube. I guess they're having some outages worldwide. It's not just us.
It's not
We didn't break YouTube, we promise.
No.
We did not. But they are having outages, and so we wanted to switch over to Facebook Live so we can continue, start our conversation, because we actually hadn't started it yet.
We haven't started, no.
Hopefully you got to see some of Ashley's beautiful song, but if not, sorry about that. You will see her sing later this evening. But we are here tonight. Welcome back to Ash and Ash. We are excited that you are here. Hopefully we won't be able to chat with you.
Well, I got it.
Okay.
I got our chat.
Okay, good.
So Kim says hi. Jeff is waving.
Okay, good.
And we have some friends joining us, so hopefully more will join us. We are so sorry YouTube went down, but we have it. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. So you've got it. Okay, good. Because I would be like, okay, wait, how do I talk to my people? I want to see you and talk to you. So, okay. And I think Chris is going to fix this up here too. So, all right, wonderful. Well, as you guys know, Wednesday evening is like my favorite night of the week.
Yes.
Used to, just
As you can tell why. Because we're so put together.
I know. I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me that I'm put together.
You're so put together, my darling.
Aren't I? Yeah. I'm really just a hot mess walking around 90% of the time. So it always feels good to be here on Wednesday nights.
With your other hot mess.
Uh-huh. I love it. Yeah. But, obviously we have been dealing with some tough topics. I mean, just some not so fun topics to talk about, but I've actually really enjoyed it, and I know Ashley has too. And just digging in and just sharing our struggles of everyday life, because, not just because it's 2020, but just because life is hard. It's not fun all the time. And today I was sitting in the office, because now I sit in an office.
She does.
Never have before. I'm usually in hotels or, work remotely and then go visit my hotels. And so now I have an office in a little cube. And it's always freezing, which you guys know I'm always cold anyway, but it's always freezing. But I was sitting there, and there's other women in there. And I just was like, just want to make an announcement. I no longer want to be a parent. So there you go. I just threw it out there. And they all just busted out laughing.
Because they all understand what that's like.
Yeah. Because literally in a matter of 15 minutes, my phone went off and all 3 kids were texting me needing something. And I was like...
At the same time.
Yeah. I was like, no, stop. Ugh. And I just put my phone away. I was like, oh my gosh.
You can't take a vacation from parenting.
Yeah. But that's just not the way life is, right?
No. Oh, we have some chats going on. So, so Kim says, glad we can still talk somehow. Yes, we can still chat. Jeff says he likes how we can rapidly pivot. So kudos to everybody.
Yes.
We have such amazing people to help us do this. Keith, hello, Keith.
Hi, Keith. We've missed you.
Yes.
So glad you're back.
Yes, and we have some people catching up, but so glad y'all are here with us. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yes.
And pivoting from Facebook, or from YouTube to Facebook. I don't know what we're doing.
We don't know. That's why we have Chris and Herb here to tell us what to do. We just sit and talk.
We do.
Yeah, that's all we do.
We just talk.
Yep. No, it's perfect. So, good. There you guys
There's some chats.
Hi. Now I see you. I don't know what this is doing tonight. It's grabbing my neck. Anyway, but so tonight, we are going to talk about, this is something that Ashley and I have talked about in our, just privately, we've talked a lot about making your yes be yes and your no mean no. And we've thrown this around a lot just because in our personal lives, we've struggled with this. Different standpoints of it, though. So
different standpoints.
We have completely different viewpoints of this and why we've struggled with it or why we've talked about it. And so we thought, let's talk about it with you. Because we want to get the biblical standpoint of it, and then we want to get your opinions on it.
Yes.
So Wow.
And the Petersons has made it to Facebook. Tommy has made it to Facebook.
Yay!
Hi, everybody.
I'm so glad. This is weird because we can see ourselves.
We can see ourselves. We usually can't see ourselves.
So this is
I don't
kind
know
of
how I feel about this. I know I'm on a screen, but I don't like to know that I'm on a screen.
I don't like to see what y'all are seeing. Anyway, so this is interesting. So, but tonight, that's what we're going to talk about is letting your yes be yes and your no be no. And what does it mean from the biblical standpoint, and then what y'all feel about that, and our viewpoints on it. So, the first question we want to throw out at you about this is if you are being honest with yourself, is this something that you struggle with? And do you find yourself overcommitting? Do you say yes when you want to say no? And why?
So I do say yes. And when I say yes, I make sure that my yes is my yes. But that also causes me to overcommit sometimes because I say yes to this thing and then I forget that I said yes to this thing, but I still make it work because I don't want people angry at me and upset because I want people to count on me.
Right.
Don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
So how do y'all feel about that? Do y'all feel like y'all overcommit or say yes when you want to say no? It's hard to say no.
And then why do we do that? Why is it in our nature to say yes to people or to something when we really want to say no?
Yeah.
And I'm like Ashley. I definitely say yes way too often. I say yes when I should definitely say no. I have shared this with you all before. I shared this with you. I am a huge people pleaser. I have been this way since childhood. Yes, I have gone to great lengths to discuss this with my therapist.
Yes.
So, don't worry, I am getting help, and admitting it is the first step. But it goes way back from childhood and family dynamics, and we don't need to get into that, or we'd sit here for a very long time.
That could be
trying to
another
figure that out.
session.
Yeah.
Another session.
Absolutely, we don't need to discuss that. But there's huge reasons why I think that there are people pleasers in this world, and why there are people like me and like you, because you were a people pleaser. And we feel the incessant need to make sure that everyone that we come in contact with is taken care of before ourselves. And that is in our nature. And I want to make sure that everything is taken care of for others. And that in turn means that I say yes to make sure that everything is done.
Yes.
And,
I'm also a fixer. You need help, I can fix that for you. It's a problem.
Whether they want help or not.
Whether you want it or not, you are getting help from me.
Whether they want you to fix it or not, you are going to.
I always tell people, if you have something that you need to say, you can absolutely say it to me, but you can also preface it by saying, I just need you to listen. And I'm more than happy just to listen. Now, if you don't preface that,
then you're fixing it.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
We have some comments. So Jeff says, my mom was really good about it. She does what she says she's going to do. Jeff's mom was absolutely wonderful. I loved her so much. We don't want to let them down. That's true. Kim agrees with Jeff. Keith says, I am old. I don't feel guilty about saying no to anyone.
Oh.
Jeff says, we also have to be of value. That's true.
Yes.
We want to matter and have purpose. And then if you want to add value, you need to be able to not, okay, how am I going to say this? And we're going to say this in just a minute, but when you spread yourself too thin, how much value can you really give?
That's a very good point.
I mean, if I give you a scoop of sugar and you put all your sugar into one, your value goes into it. But if you sprinkle it everywhere, you're not going to get a sweet tart. Does that make sense? I'm a baker. Bill says, not when I want to say no, but when I should say no.
And that's so key.
That's also super hard. Jeff says, being dependent on gives us that. Hi, Bob.
Oh my gosh, Bob's here.
Bob is a yes man.
Bob. Yes, you are a yes man. Yes, you are. That's why you worked, 11 hours one day at the pumpkin patch? Because you are a yes man.
Jeff says, I am on my way to that, Keith. Haha. I still try to help out where I can, but yeah, I'm becoming a realist and need to manage my time more optimally as possible. Man, y'all are chatty. I love this. Keith says, I found that I was saying yes too often and I was doing stuff badly because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Hi, Fred. Oh my goodness. He says, took me a lot of years of marriage to realize I don't need to fix it when my wife brought up struggles. That's another good point. Husbands are also fixers.
Yes.
Husbands are big fixers, which sometimes I need help. Sometimes I need help, but sometimes I just need someone to listen to me. I don't need you to fix it, but I want you to listen to my perspective and how I'm feeling. And I don't also need an opposing opinion. I just need someone to hear me.
Yes, absolutely.
One more. Jeff says, I tell people yes, and then delegate it to others. You can do that in your job. Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
awesome. We love these. Keep chatting, and we will definitely keep going. That's awesome.
No, I love it. I love it. Because, a lot of these comments, too, go in line with, the fact that it's not healthy behavior all the time to just say yes and stretch yourself thin, like what you said. It's not good, but sometimes it is reality.
Yeah.
And in my world, it is reality. So it is something that I have to work on for sure. So digging into the scripture of let your yes be yes and your no be no, Jesus addresses oaths. And so we will want to break this down tonight because as we dig into it, it is an important text to look at in the scripture in Matthew. But Ashley and I, when we were talking about this, we want to broaden it to our everyday lives. And we think that you would agree with this because when you look at scripture and look at just exactly as it is written, sometimes you're looking at it going, okay, well, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah.
And so we want to broaden it some to kind of encompass it into our everyday lives. And what does it actually mean to how we're living today, not just when it's addressing oaths.
And I think it goes hand in hand. When I
absolutely.
say yes, I will do that, I'm giving you my oath.
Yes, because our word and our daily commitment is just as important. And I think that we would all agree with that.
I think so.
If you don't, throw it in the chat box.
Throw it in the
Tell
chat
us
box.
why
Let
you
me
wouldn't
see it.
agree with that. So Jesus said in Matthew 5:37, and this is the King James Version, but I liked how he said it in the King James Version. It says, let your communication be yay, yay, nay, nay. I just thought
That
was
sounds
fun
like
to
a song.
say.
Let me yay, yay,
Yay.
let me nay, nay.
I know. Watch me yay, yay, watch me nay. No, just
Never
kidding.
again.
Sorry. Yeah, we digress. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. The NIV clarifies the meaning of Jesus' words somewhat. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. The context of this verse has to do with oath keeping. In a broader look of Jesus' sermon, we go into the Sermon on the Mount.
So I don't see any comments at the moment. So Matthew 5 is a part of the Sermon on the Mount. In this section, Jesus addresses some of the underlying principles of certain Old Testament laws. There are some cases in which a person could obey the letter of the law but still be guilty of breaking the principle. So the Pharisees and teachers were experts at keeping the letter of the law. But Jesus warns his hearers that unless their righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and teachers of the law, they will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:20. This statement would have shocked his hearers because the Pharisees and scribes were looked up to as paragons of obedience. Jesus points out that technical obedience is not enough if the spirit of the law is broken.
I can see your teacher part of you coming out right now. You're very harsh when you're saying these words.
Do you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I mean, you just are very, very serious, right? In
Well, this was a very serious.
It is.
I mean,
it is very serious, but you're just like so. Can't you just see her like teaching this to her children in her homeschool? It's just very precise.
you're welcome.
Yeah. No, I just, yes. But I do have to go to Bill's comment really fast. Bill, if husbands didn't fix it, who would?
You're going to make us pivot in a way that we've never pivoted before. But honestly,
Good thing I like you so much, Bill Peterson.
sometimes that's accurate. Sometimes that is definitely accurate.
Yes, it's very accurate. And then he does say, does that mean that politicians' words from the evil one, they are experts at not saying yes or no?
Oh man,
Well, this just took a turn,
that
didn't
did
it?
just take a turn.
I just can't wait to see what people are going to say about that. They are experts at not saying yes or no. They are. It's funny because if you watched any of the debates, whether it was this season or years past, watch any of the debates, I don't think they answer any of the questions ever.
No.
So
It's a very good question, but referring back to the one that we talked about 5,000 years ago, because they're always wanting to control the narrative.
right. No, I know. And Jeff says I would say yes.
Let's not get Jeff started on politics.
But no, that is a very good point because you're absolutely right. I just don't even think that they ever answer with a yes or a no, or they have a spin on everything. But we won't get into that.
We won't get into it. That's another one.
But yes. So, and here are some other things. So as we talked about, this is going to just do a quick little thing about when we talked about the Ten Commandments. So we were going back a little bit because we just went through that whole series on the Ten Commandments. And this is going off of, what we were just saying in the Sermon on the Mount and everything. But in Matthew, because this is what we're studying tonight, is in Matthew, Jesus teaches that it is not enough to be technically innocent of murder because one can have murderous thoughts and attitudes without carrying out the physical act. Jesus says it is not enough to be technically innocent of adultery because a lustful look destroys one's purity of thought. Jesus teaches that divorcing a wife for an inadequate, oh my gosh, I cannot talk tonight, reason,
Words are hard.
even when the proper paperwork is filed, may not be a legitimate divorce in God's eyes. So summing that up, in Matthew 5:33 through 37, following the same pattern, Jesus addresses the subject of telling the truth. Jesus tells the crowd not to break their oaths. So again, we're focusing on the oath part, but it is about talking about saying your yes and your no. An oath was a promise to do or not to do something, invoking God as witness and the one to bring judgment if the promise was broken. It was common for people to make oaths to emphasize their seriousness and their truthfulness.
Like a pinky promise.
Right, exactly. So if you were doing a pinky promise with your child or, yes.
Or with another adult.
Or another adult, sure.
Happens.
It was sometimes, yes, to emphasize their seriousness and their truthfulness. Sometimes they would swear on something less than God, such as heaven. So I found this very interesting because they were trying to just really stress how important the seriousness was on their oaths. And so the point of the lesser oath was to allow some flexibility in breaking the oath. So if they were going to swear on their oath just to heaven and not God, then it would give them some wiggle room to get out of it. It's like,
The gray area.
Yes, the gray area. Like, okay, I guess this one isn't that as important because it's just based on heaven. I mean, come on. So, since God's name had not been invoked, they reasoned, breaking the oath wasn't that bad. In this case, the oath was being made by a person who was not afraid to break it, making the oath duplicitous. I love it when I put words in here that I really don't know how to say.
They sound good in our head.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm typing them, I'm like, oh, I know how to say that, but then I can't actually say it. So just laugh at me behind the
Laugh
screen.
with
It's
us.
okay. Instead of varying the sincerity level of oath, Jesus says to simply say yes or no and mean it. The invocation of God's name is a mere technicality. Mouthing a meaningless oath does not create loopholes for yourself. Your word should be your promise. Jesus says that oath or no oath, simply say what you mean and stick by it. So
Amen.
It's a very long explanation to just say that Jesus says, say yes or no and mean it.
Okay, so we have some comments. So Jeff says, did you have a tuna salad Sammy for lunch? Sammy is sandwich, by the way. Well, politician, I did go to a place that makes and sells tuna salad Sammys. Kind of skirting that. Bill says exactly. Jeff says, I wish Pinky Promises happened like in Trolls 2. It would make it so epic. If y'all don't know what that means, I don't blame you. Bob got distracted and said, tuna Sammys.
There you go.
That does sound delicious. Bill says the wiggle room means that God won't hold them to it.
Okay.
So if they promise a little bit, then they don't have to fully commit, maybe.
So they were taking, so is that, and I'm asking Bill, so when they would make this oath, but they weren't actually committing all the way, God knew that so they could get out of it?
Or they felt like.
Or they just felt, okay.
They felt like they could get out of it.
Felt like they could get out of it. It wasn't like God was really saying, oh, okay, you could get out of it. They
No,
just felt like
they took it that way.
Okay.
Because it wasn't giving their oath to God, it was giving their oath to heaven. So it's not as serious.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Jeff says it's a whole lukewarm thing. It's true.
That is true. In the whole of the context in Matthew 5:33 through 37, you have also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you cannot turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. So that's the entire scripture of Matthew 5:33 through 37.
Okay, Jeff says the gray area is a very dangerous place. It can't, yeah, absolutely. Because there's no definite, that just all becomes what you think your truth is. And my truth is not your truth. So when I say yes to something or say yes to you, and okay, she's coming, she's going to help, she's going to do this. And I'm like, well, I didn't really mean it. And then I don't show up, that hurts you.
Right.
Or vice versa. Either way, someone can get hurt.
Absolutely.
So in Matthew 5:34, Jesus says, do not swear an oath at all. Some have interpreted this to mean that a Christian should never take an oath for any reason, such as testifying in court.
Right.
A witness is sworn in, raising his or her right hand and sometimes placing the other hand on a Bible and promising to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. However, the point of Jesus' teaching is not taking an oath in this manner is wrong. Taking a meaningless oath in order to create a loophole and retaining the option of breaking it is wrong. What we just kind of said a minute ago.
Right.
If an oath is required in the course of a civic duty, the Christian should have no problem making it. The proper application of Jesus' principle of letting your yes be yes is that a Christian must be truthful in all circumstances. So it doesn't matter if you're in court, and it doesn't matter if you're at the Sammy shop. You know,
Right.
Let your truth be your truth and your yes be your yes.
Right. Exactly. And so, we want to get your thoughts on this as well, because there are some people who take this so literally, and they interpret this to mean that as a Christian you should never testify in court. And yes, there are people that take everything to the extremes.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
You know, Jeff says, going back to the thing you said about law and the spirit of the law is for setting boundaries for us and others. Yes, and we love boundaries. We talk about
I
boundaries.
love
quite a bit
boundaries.
in here. So boundaries are a very good thing.
They protect everybody.
And Bill says, what does that mean for the promise you make in court on the Bible? That was a leading question, I guess. Yes, because we just talked about that. So, Bill, what more thoughts do you have about that? Because we just addressed that. And, you know, Jesus' teaching is that that oath is not a manner in wrong. This is what you can do, even as a Christian civic duty. But do you have other thoughts on that?
Yeah.
So share that if you do, because I would love to know. And then Jeff says, it seems like when Pharisees wanted to stone the woman, they were upholding the law out of cruelty, not to seek justice for an offense. Yes, because also they only brought the woman forward. They did not bring anyone else forward because it wasn't like she did that by herself.
Right.
So they were looking to just punish her.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then let's see, Keith says, making vows and keeping them and telling the truth is about credibility. If we are perceived as liars, then we have no credibility when we share the gospel. Exactly. I mean, that hits the nail on the head.
Exactly. When Jesus says, let your truth always be your truth, and then you come back and say, or if you don't live up to that, say if you don't live up to that, and then you want to share the good news with somebody, they're like, how can I trust what you're saying is true? Because all the rest of your life, you're not living that way.
Right.
Can invalidate you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, I got a little lost here.
We're getting lost. I'm shuffling back and forth. She's shuffling back and forth.
I know.
Thank y'all so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, it was just, that's us, though.
It is us.
Yeah, well, crazy night. So when we are working, through our lives to make our no mean no and our yeses mean yes, there is something to always remember that it is very empowering to work through this. And it helps us as individuals to grow in our relationships with each other. And it also helps us to grow in our relationship with God when we're able to establish this, and it helps us grow stronger each time that we're able to say, all right, I'm going to stand firm in my yeses and my nos. And it's not being mean or cruel when you say no to somebody. Although it's something that I still have to become better at doing. And my friend Ashley here helps me with that. But it does make me stronger each time that I do it. And I now know that when I do say no, when somebody asks me to do something, I don't have to wither up and feel so guilty and be like, oh my gosh, I just told this person no. I can, trust that it's okay.
Absolutely.
And it's okay that I said no. I don't have to explain, have to give a bunch of excuses of why I've said no. Because once I do that, it just gives that other person a whole bunch of time to negotiate and convince me of why I should say yes.
And that's something I'm having to learn, because when it's time for me to say no, I go, no, because I'm so sorry. And they're like, oh, but okay, well, let me tell you how you can say yes.
Right.
Well, I don't want to say yes. But I can't say that either.
Right. Well, because I think the biggest thing is, because I stretch myself so thin by saying yes to so many different things, if really in my head I know that the reason that I'm saying no is because I want to go take a nap, or I need to rest, or I need to just have some time in my home to do whatever. I mean, it might just be to clean a toilet, but I just need time in my own home to do something. I can be talked out of it. If it's just for me time to rest or do something, then I'll be like, oh, well, I'll feel guilty that it's
Yep.
just me time.
I was going to say that's when guilt
It's just
creeps
guilt.
in.
And it's like, okay, well then, yes, of course, then I can just go do something for somebody else instead of having me time. And so, yeah. Or if it's just like, oh, I was just going to read a book. Do you know how wonderful it would be to sit down and read a book for 2 hours? My problem is it wouldn't be 2 hours, it'd be like 10 because I just get stuck reading a book, which I love. But I feel guilty. So I fill it up with doing things for other people.
Or I try to diffuse a situation. If someone gets angry at me, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Fine, I'll take care of it. I'll do whatever you need just to diffuse a situation,
Yes, absolutely.
which isn't healthy either. I know this now. Sitting here in this moment when no one's angry at me or guilting me or needing something. But in this situation, I'm like, yes,
Right.
of course.
Do you know how hard it
darling.
was for me to cancel my gym membership that I didn't go to for an entire year?
Well, and they don't make that easy anyway.
Oh my goodness. Well, finally, the guy was like, no, you could do this. You can find this time. You could do. Finally, I literally started crying and I said, do you know the only alone time that I have is to see my therapist? Do you want me to bring my therapist here? And I was crying and he goes, okay, I'll cancel your membership. Here, sign right here. And I go, thank you. He just thought I was a complete loon. True story, you guys.
Sometimes,
True story.
Sometimes we have to bring out our
Yeah.
crazy.
He was like, okay, you can go now. I was like, okay, thank you.
We got behind. Hang on. Okay. So Keith, sorry, I'm going to catch up. Sorry, guys. Keith says, I guess this is why there are so few politicians that are also pastors.
Oh, I would love to see that, Keith. Ooh.
That's a line for a great documentary. Moving on.
I think it could happen.
Jeff says pivot. Bill says Jesus also said something about when in Rome. So in court, do what they ask. Well, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Like
Yes.
you are there to speak the truth, and they need to be sure that you are telling the truth.
Right.
So
yes,
they can.
because I mean, what it talks about, paying your taxes, and he's like, you have to pay Caesar. I mean, Christ addresses all of that.
You have to still follow laws.
Yes. No, that's what. Yes, we have to.
So there's
Absolutely.
there's that
Yes.
truth. Let's see.
Oh, Jeff says we tend to think a no is negative. Why is that?
Because
do
it's always attached to a negative.
It is. We always think that, if you tell somebody no, it's like the end of the world.
Right. I don't want them to be mad at me. I don't want them to be without. But then, well, you're going to say that in just a minute. I'm not going to. So maybe that's part of it. Bob says, one thing about saying yes, it's maybe pride also. With me being in charge of the trustees, I want everyone to be happy with the experience inside and outside the church. Bob, you and the trustees do such an amazing job for this church. I am so thankful for all that y'all do.
Oh my gosh, constantly.
Constantly. Every Saturday, the pumpkin patch, anything that needs to get done, we are so blessed
You do
with such a
everything. It's
wonderful, with
amazing.
Bob and the trustees.
It's amazing. But I
Jeff's-
can see that because it is a pride thing. Like that's why we have the best trustees ever.
Ever.
But yes, they want everybody to be happy.
Jeff says, you want to be the peacekeeper. I think he's talking to me. That's a true statement. We just add some new engineering recruits at work, and I want to have team buy-in, but lately I know I just need to make the call. I can't please everyone, and you can't please everyone. Are you talking directly at me, sir? Because I feel like this is coming right at me. Bill says the problem is that others don't believe that yes means yes and no means no because they have been let down so many times. I do that. I put so much faith since I am usually the one that helps and says yes and I'm going to be there. What happens is when I ask for something, which is very rare because I'm going to fix it myself, I'm going to do it myself, I'm going to do everything. But sometimes when I ask for help and they say they're going to do it and then they don't.
Yeah.
And then I just feel, and we talked about this too, my mom always says, treat people the way you want to be treated. And the other side of that is teach people the way that you want to be treated. But that's not how the world works.
No.
We can be the nicest person in the world. We can do everything for others, but that's not always returned.
Right.
So
It's not
that's
reciprocated
false
and
advertising.
It's hard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
Jeff says, yep, sometimes we will be the straightforward one and the others are the wobbly jello. You in food today.
He must be hungry. Yeah.
He did cook. Taco
Didn't make
salad.
dinner. Oh,
He made dinner. He made taco salad.
yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Yep.
Okay.
So also realize that when you say no to one thing, you are also saying yes to something else. You might just not know what it is at the time, but allowing yourself to say no to something frees you up for something else, which is what we have to make sure that we're prioritizing our time and we're prioritizing the things in our lives. And that's just sometimes really difficult because, like we said, we want to be able to say yes, 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 and help so many people, but we can't always do that. And we have to protect our time and protect what we can do because we do have special gifts and we do have the ability to do things for Christ and for the people in our lives, but we just have to make sure that we're doing the right things.
Well, I love that you said when you're saying no to one thing, you're saying yes to something else. And that yes could be to yourself,
It could be, yeah.
which, yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah.
I need to say yes to myself more often. With moving and doing homeschooling for both kids or virtual learning, my responsibilities at the church, I love every single aspect of that, except the moving. I didn't like that. I didn't like the moving.
I don't think there's anybody that really loves moving. I mean, you know, I don't know.
That was not my cup of tea.
Fun organizing a new house. I mean, it is once you
Find the time to do that.
Finding the time to do it. And
Ashley was like, "How's your house coming?" And I went, "Mm-mm." I got the kitchen done. That's about all. But saying yes to myself, like for the first time in 6 weeks, this past weekend, I sat down and I watched a documentary. I love true crime documentaries. I don't know why, but that was the first time in 6 weeks that I actually sat down and did that. And that felt so good, which is weird. I'm sorry. So speaking of gyms, be willing to trim.
I'm sorry, but I just love it that her. The one thing she gets to do, I got to sit down and watch murder.
Which is terrible. I know, but I don't know
Why
why.
is that terrible?
I don't know. I'm a crime junkie. But being willing to trim, ask God about where you may need to prune or prioritize. And that's something that I'm terrible about. Asking God where I need help. You know, I pray for others. I pray for my children, for my husband, for my friends, for my church family. But praying for myself is like not even a thought. Just not even on my radar. And
Because you're perfect. Just kidding. No,
we got that recorded, right?
no.
I may need that later.
I think that sometimes it's the hardest thing to pray for is for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's twofold. One, I forget about myself because I'm so worried about other people.
Yes.
Then two, sometimes I don't want God to reveal what I need help with. I mean,
true.
that's honestly.
True.
Sometimes it's like, oh well, I don't want to face what's going on in here.
Right.
I'd rather just keep plowing through life, and let me just take care of everything else.
We're plowing through life, but we got an anchor on the back of us that we don't even know that's wearing us down.
Yeah.
Dadgummit.
Yep. No, absolutely. The second thing is, pay attention to timing. Know that just because he has gifted you in a particular area, which I just mentioned a few minutes ago, does not mean that you should always function in that capacity. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we have to realize is, sometimes, even though that might be your gift, take a step back and realize that maybe that's not where your time should be.
Or take a break from it.
Yeah.
I love doing music here. Absolutely love it. And people are always like, do you need a week off? We don't want to burn you out. But that's also what fills me up too. So taking a step back away from it
Right.
is more hurtful because that is such a joyful time of my week. Thursday nights practicing here with the band, and then Sundays, such a joyful time. Wednesdays.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny that you should mention that because like right now I'm tired. I have a lot that's going on and a lot of things that I'm juggling. And even today I was driving, I got home at like 5:30 and I was like, I said, oh, I'm so tired. But then the minute I pulled in here, it was just like a switch and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just so excited
Yes.
for Wednesday night because
Yes.
it fills me back up and then I can make it until Sunday and then I'll be back here on Sunday morning and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm full again. So absolutely.
Well, before we go, do we have any comments? I can't switch back
I
and
know.
forth anymore.
Let's see. Jeff says I did cook.
He
Kimber doesn't
did.
believe me. Kimber, your dad cooked dinner.
Wait, did she not eat? That's my question.
Jeff, feed your child.
Feed the children,
Let's
please.
see. Jeff, sometimes saying yes keeps enabling the other person. Absolutely. And sometimes God gives us the no because of that. We tend to say, God, please do something about this. He replies, I did. I empowered you. Very true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the third part of that is recognize the others may need training. Understand that just because someone asks you to do something does not mean you have to do it.
And I think this is what Jeff was getting at too.
What?
You're enabling others.
What? That is mind-blowing. Oftentimes the same people frequently get asked to serve because other leaders know that you are competent and will get the job done. The other side of that is, this is sad as well. On the other hand, you may simply be an escape to avoid their challenge of reaching out and taking a risk and training others or being told no.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And just like Jeff said too, you might be enabling other people. And other like leaders might always come to you because they know that you'll say yes and they'll know that you'll get it done instead of reaching out to others. And if you're always the go-to person, or if you're always the, yes, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, it doesn't give other people the chance to step up and grow and develop and change. So there's all sorts of things that, sometimes it is okay to just step back. And say,
Absolutely.
okay.
I can't be there this time. No problem. We can find somebody else. It will work out. It will work out. It will work out. It always works out.
Yeah. So, question for y'all, what are ways you've overcome a tendency to say yes to too many things? I mean, have you ever had to reflect and say, okay, I say yes too much. What can I do? How do I step back from this? How have you learned to identify that you say yes too much, or, what do you do?
I had to move cities. No joke. So the city that I came from, my family is completely
You
rooted.
had to move to stop saying yes?
We were just completely rooted in everything. We were community based. We were in every charity, everything that you could be involved in. And then I also owned my own custom cake bakery. And I was doing by myself, because I didn't have any help, I was doing 5 to 8 cakes a week. Custom cakes. This wasn't, hey, I want happy birthday painted on a cake. It was, I want it to spin. I want it to look like a T-Rex. And so I would say yes to too many. And then I also have my community events that I needed to attend, and also my church. So when we moved here, I said, no more cakes. That burned me out completely. I do them for fun every now and then for friends and family, but I don't do them as a business anymore. And then I do community events, but I'm more involved in the church in ways that I want to be.
Yeah.
So when I say yes here, it's because I really want to, not because I have to. And so that I literally had to move, which is not healthy either. Don't do that. Don't move to say no. but I didn't realize that that's the place I was in, because that was my life for 30 years, was saying yes to everything because of who my family was. And moving here, I get to be who I am, because back there I wasn't, you wouldn't recognize me from over there. You have no idea who I am there. I'm actually who I am here. And that makes such a big difference.
That's huge. Yeah. No, I like what Bill says. He says, maybe you need to think, what is the worst thing to happen if you do say no? And maybe you can live with that. I do try to, Jeff says, I do try to understand the motive behind them asking, and not saying that they have deceitful motives, but am I doing something they are fully capable of and have the time to do themselves? But sometimes maybe they are capable but need a break, and that's grace. I really agree with that. Bill, I like what you say that, what would happen if you said no? And I don't think the world will fall apart. I think a lot of people are in fear that they'd be replaceable and, or forgotten or out of the limelight or whatever it is. And that's scary for a lot of people because they, find identity in doing a lot of things or what have you. But you're right. I mean, what is the worst thing that could happen if you say no?
Yeah. It's not that bad.
Right. So, I agree. So really the final thought tonight is simple. Jesus' point was that we don't even have the power or authority to make oaths. We truly don't. The Lord is displeased when we don't keep our word, whether we swear by heaven or not. The easiest way to avoid this behavior is simply say yes or no to what you will or will not do. It really is very simple when it comes down to it. And as Christians, we just need to be honest and keep our word and say yes or no and do what we say we're going to do. Again, thank you guys so much tonight for being very quick and jumping off of YouTube and coming over here and joining us on Facebook Live. I guess there was just some hiccups. I don't know. Thank you, Jeff, for telling us that we had to switch so quickly. We appreciate that. But thank you so much for this great conversation. Keep commenting because we are here and we want to keep talking while Ashley closes this out with her last song. And you guys have a fabulous week. Talk to you soon.
Oh, the beauty of the King. You make righteous those who sing. You have written and redeemed my story. Let my eyes see your kingdom shine all around. Let my heart overflow with passion for your name. Let my life be a song revealing who you are. For you are salt and light. Oh, the love that sets me free. You bring hope to those in need. You have written and redeemed my story. Let my eyes see your kingdom shine all around. Let my heart overflow with passion for your name. Let my life be a song revealing who you are. For you are salt and light. You are love's great height. You are deep and wide, a consuming fire. You are salt and light. You are love's great height. You are deep and wide, a consuming fire. Let my eyes see your kingdom shine all around. Let my heart overflow with passion passion for your name. Let my life be a song, revealing who you are. For you are salt and light. You are salt and light. You are salt and light. You are salt and light.
Thank y'all so much again for joining us this evening on Facebook. We're usually on YouTube, but thank y'all so much for switching over.